Hello and welcome back to The Broken Doll. And just to let you all know out there, I have ordered a Shirley Temple wig. It's on its way from Doll Part Supply. It's a mohair wig. Cost me a bit. But she needs a wig. We can't let her go around looking like a baldy right now. So anyways, we're back to this dog here. I've been stuffing him. I've got my wire in him right now. Boy, that was something else to do. He's not going to stay like this. This is just for right now so I can have him up for display. He will get looked after better later. Now, I have washed him. He's clean. His stuffing is clean. I have the one last bag of some stuffing. Oops, I'm dropping stuffing on the ground here. Oh, look at that. There we go. Anyhow, I've got some stuffing. I got to still do some more stuffing here for him. So, I thought I'd do that as we do some talking. So, I had a couple questions that were asked of me. And they're pretty much related to one another, but they're still good questions, and I love the questions. I was asked, is it safe to have dolls that have, like old composition dolls that have been painted with oil paint, which we know had lead in it back then? Is it safe to have those dolls today, or composition dolls that are painted with lead oil paint? Are they safe to have? Yes, they're safe. Your dolls are safe to own. Now, the only thing I would suggest not to do is don't go eating your dolls. Because why do I say that? I'm being funny too. I'm just trying to get some humor in there. The problem with it is that back in its day, oil paint had lead in it. And the lead led to a lot of problems with children. Infants, they would paint their cribs with this oil paint which had lead in it, and then if the infant was in teething stage, they would sometimes chew on their crib, and that paint would go into their mouth, which could lead to lead poisoning. Even if they were if a child was at the level of a windowsill toddling around and they chewed on the windowsill was painted with the lead paint, and again it would lead to lead poisoning. That was one of the biggest problems. The next biggest problem with oil paint was the odor. The odor was so strong. I was reading a lot of stuff about the odor of lead paint that would actually be more caustic to children than even the lead chewing on it. That was a problem. But what they're also were saying was that children were highly affected by the odor. So were adults. It led to dizziness, nausea. Some were hospitalized. Because of the oil paint being so strong in its odor. Those were the big things that about oil paint. But once it dried and the odor dissipated, it was great paint. And but it's what you had to go through to get to that. The wonderful thing is in the 1940s, late 40s, early 50s, out came acrylic paint. And because of that, acrylic was now water cleanup. Now you don't have to put your brushes into turpentine and paint thinners, and which is another odor thing that you had to work around as well. So you had brushes that were in turpentine. You had paint that stunk, to high heavens, and you had lead that was in the paint as well. But the thing is, we're talking about rooms that when people painted their rooms. Now, when you're painting a doll of this size here, I use the trim clad. Someone asked me if it had an odor. It does have it's a very light odor. It's not heavy, but there is an odor to it. So if you trend for headaches around that type of paint, you might want to wear a respirator, a mask, or something. If you're restoring a doll that you've tested and you see that it is oil paint, and you want to paint it, chip the paint off. Again, if take it out to wear like a nice summer day or a nice spring day, and chip it off out in the air. Or if you're inside of a building, wear a mask if that's what you want to do. If your doll is acrylic, which a lot of composition dolls were painted with acrylic paint because a lot of dolls went in for repaints, or was old stock they were trying to push out. They were painted with acrylic paint. That's non-toxic, so you're fine with that. Like I don't wear a mask if they're acrylic. So far, the dolls that I've done so far in front of you were acrylic, so I don't wear a mask, and I'm not going to. So for that, I won't. But I have taken dolls right outside and that have been painted with oil paint, and just do them right outside. So it's up to you what you want to do, and how you, even if you think you want to wear a mask for acrylic paint, you can, if you don't want them flicking in your face, you know. But you just got to use your smarts, and what's good for you, you do, you know, type of thing. But anyways, I thought I'd answer that question. But your dolls are safe. The only thing I would suggest is don't be sucking on or chewing on your Shirley Temple's legs or anything of that sort, which I'm just being funny again. Type of thing. But no, you know, as long as you don't eat your dog, I'm doing a dog right now, your doll, you're fine, you know. But you know, it's nice that we come up with some better things. The only thing is, when it comes to composition dolls, acrylic is not good for your wood dolls. It's better to paint them with oil paint. Now, another thing I read about too, even back then, not all oil paint was equal. There was some oil paint that had no lead in it, even back then. Even today, now we're making paints without lead. So lead was to help how it went smoothly on and everything. Even back then, they had some other things that they would put in that were not caustic or were toxic or anything, and the paint went on smooth. It wasn't as well sought after, maybe not as good, but they did use, even in toys, I read, it went from toys to household stuff. They said in your household that some paints were not always lead filled. Most were, though. So that's why there were problems. It was just the way the paint went on and how it spread across. That's what the lead did. It helped to spread the paint a lot nicer. So, but they've got a lot of other things out there today that are safe, and you can put them right around you and work with them, and you're not going to get sick from them, and which is great, you know. So anyways, I put this stuff into the wash, washed this stuffing up, and working out great in here. Very nice to work with. It falls into pieces, so that's what happens to it. The reason why I was able to take it out in a big chunk for the arm, if you watch that, is because it's been pressed in there for such a long time. It probably went in like this, but over the years, it's been pressed down and pressed together. And I imagine if I was to take this out of here, in time this would all gather and take the shape of the arm or the leg or the body as well. But anyhow, we're going to get this all back in there because it needs to go back in. It came out of there. The head is heavier, so we need a good stuffing in here to hold that head. The head will probably be held a lot better now that the stuffing has been cleaned and reformed and looking a lot better. But I'm not going to touch this dog. I got a lot of other things that need to be dealt with more than this dog right now. Just to show you too, I want to show you something on this dog that will help you with the question that I was just answering. I took to test your doll or your dog. How do you know if it's acrylic or not? Well, I just took some acetone. Acetone takes off acrylic paint. You can see here I took a rag across the back of him with some acetone, and he's also this is acrylic. And another reason, I didn't even have to do that. I did that for you guys here. But I knew right away he was acrylic because of the lifting. The acrylic paint lifts. It doesn't separate like oil paint. Oil paint will get like an alligator skin or a webbing. And that webbing is the paint drying, the oil in the paint drying out. And as it looks like cracks in the paint, but it's not. And it's just once you put some linseed oil on it, sometimes you can save a doll or a dog once you put some linseed oil over it, and it restores some of that oil back into the paint. If it's at the flaking part, what is that flaking? When you see an old oil painted doll flaking, that's the pigment coming off. The paint is still on the dog or the doll. It's still there, but what it is just the pigment coming off, and that flaky stuff is all the pigments, the coloring of the doll. So the thing is, I got a dog in my hand, so I want to keep saying dog. But the thing is, I'm looking at a dog here. But the thing is that if you were just to take some acetone across, you'll see. But it didn't take this off. That tells me that's oil. That's oil paint. Acetone won't touch oil. So it wouldn't even touch this at all. So this is oil paint down here. This is acrylic. Now I don't know how much of this goes up. This goes up here. Would be interesting to see if this ends as it goes up. I don't know. But this has been repainted. So this will go for, this dog will have a repaint again on it. I could tell mostly by the mouth. The mouth just looks too fresh to me. Wood doesn't like acrylic. It loves oil. There's certain sciences that work to this, and wood loves the oil. It lays on it better. That's why you want to, I'm returning these dolls back to oil paint. It's because it loves the oil. The wood composition, wood loves oil. Plastic now is acrylic. It's your plastic toys love acrylic, because why? Acrylic is a plastic paint, and it loves plastic. It adheres to it better. So that's why when you see people painting dolls today, they go to acrylic paint because it's a plastic paint, plastic with plastic. Now, some rules. You can put acrylic over oil. It does work. Will lift in years down the road and dry up and everything. That will happen to it. But you cannot put oil, you should not put oil on top of acrylic. It doesn't adhere to the acrylic. In a very short period of time, it will start to break down. It has nothing to adhere to. It glues to the wood where it's on a plastic, and it wants to slide back off again. It doesn't want, it can't adhere. So that's why we say don't put oil on top of acrylic. Can you? Yeah, you can do it. Not good to do it, but you can do it. You know, you can do whatever you want with your doll, but it's just, I'm just trying to give you what are the better ways to do this. The better way is to put oil on your wood. Put acrylic on your plastics. That's what I'm saying. But because this was such a new paint and easy to clean up, acrylic was, it was only water cleanup, everybody wanted to use it, even on the wood dolls. If they could put it over on top of the old oil paint, they did it. Sand it, acrylic went on top. And it worked for the time, and it did. But now here we are today having to fix it. And it's not like we're not fixing old oil paint dolls as well. But all you have to do, if I had a doll that had oil paint, I'd sand it and then just put the paint on top. Start painting on top of it. You can do that with oil paint. Just paint right over. Oil paint on top of oil paint. Just give it a nice sanding all the way around. Don't have to remove it. But a lot of my dolls that I have here are painted with acrylic. Old stock, get rid of it. Because the new stuff was coming in the late 40s, early 50s. Remember Barbie? You're looking at 1950. All this plastic is coming out. Barbie's in another 9 more years, and you got 1959. You got a whole plastic world coming out, you know, and it just bled into the society after that. So just some nice little history to know about, you know, and just some rules to a lot of it. And like I said, you can do whatever you want to your dolls. You can, you know, not obey the rules, and that's fine, you know, but you'll find out that what you want to return these dolls to the best way possible. What is good for your doll? But you can do whatever you want, but it's like I say, are you making the best decision? If you're going to go to all this work, you want to make sure you're making the right turns and doing your doll justice, you know. And Dodie's doll, she tried to impress that on me a lot. And she was always saying to me, bring it back to its original. Bring back to where it was. Where was it? What is it about? I don't know if I'm going to get all this back in here. I don't know. Wow. I'm pushing down in on it, so I don't, got to be careful because this material is old. It's taking the abuse from me right now, so you want to know something? I don't think I can put any more. Okay, I think this dog, and I got that little bit left over, but you want to know something? I'm quite content. He's got a full belly here. But boy, he could, but you don't want to shove it down into the corners down here because he's got to be able to sit. If I was to really shove this, that's why I'm keeping him in the sitting position. Otherwise, his legs would go straight out like that, and I wouldn't be able to get him to sit. So I'm going to stop there with him at this point here. He looks like he's nice and full, and I'm just going to have to keep that there. All right, now we got to cut out a circle for his head so that the stuffing doesn't go back up inside of his head. We'll cut it to the circumference of this here, plunk his head back on, wire him up, and he's good to go for right now. And we're going to live with him like this until I'm ready to move to the next step of repainting him, and then we can take this back off again. Just to let you know, I'm recycling. I'm using the wires out of a bistal that I smashed its head and took some of its innards out, and these wires are in there to help pose the arms, and the legs are to keep it stiff so it stands up and everything. I'm reusing them here to wire this dog's head back on again. So, recycle. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video. More to come. And it'll take a few days, probably about a week. For next week, I should have Shirley Temple's wig, and we'll get her looking good again. So anyways, thanks for joining me. I'm coming back with another video, cutting out the circle for this dog, tying up its wires, and us just sitting here and enjoying him. All right. Thanks again for joining me. Bye-bye.